right, well, welcome everybody to Launchpad. We're here with our first Launchpad live event. My name is Bill Kalivas. I'm your host for today's show. At Launchpad, if you don't know, you can go to launchpadinw.com. It's a professional networking site. Our goal is to help you connect online in the industries that you want to connect with people, but then bring all your relationships offline. Each week, what we're going to do is have a community event right here at Launchpad. We're located at 120 North Stevens, if you've never been here. And then we'll have some great guests. Each week, we're going to cover a different community. I am very pleased to have our guests here today. You know, I have a passion for entrepreneurs. I think it was Katy, who I'll introduce the panelists in just a second, but I was talking to Katy the other day, and we were having a little conversation about what it's like to start a business, and she used a word that I've been sharing with other entrepreneurs recently, and she used the term, it's terrifying. Do you remember that?
I do.
And it's terrifying, but it's also like a roller coaster. When it's up, it's exhilarating. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, but let me introduce our guest today. First we have, to my left is Josh Hissong from DG Design. Let's give Josh a round of applause. We have Mrs. Katy Brown from Thin Technologies is here. And last but not least, our very dear friend, Mr. Chris Reilly from Unleashed Online Marketing. I want to start with letting each person tell us a little bit about your business. Take maybe a minute or two, talk to us about your business and really what you do here in the community. Go ahead, Josh.
We're a full-service architecture and design firm. We specialize primarily in restaurant design, commercial spaces, but we also do home design and actual full building architecture. My partner Armando Hurtado is a big part of our company, obviously. We've just gotten into doing branding for our clients as well. So we're doing logo, web branding, and then we leave it to people like Chris to take care of the marketing. But we just started about a year ago as a partnership, and it's just grown exponentially. It's been phenomenal. It was terrifying to start the business, as I've always worked for someone else with that steady paycheck, and you know. So it was a little bit terrifying. Now it's beyond fulfilling. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing to want to go to work every day, want to pull 13, 14-hour days, and be excited about what you do every day. So I think when you choose the business that you're going to be in for the rest of your life, you're able to actually pick what you want to do. It makes it fun every day. So.
Just a little side note, the colors and the scheme that you see in here was also part of Josh Hissong's design. We had a raw space here, and Josh came in and said, let me pick some colors for you, because we were literally not going to paint it, and it was kind of a drab gray, and he said, no, we're bringing in some painters, and it was done like that, and Josh just nails it every time. A couple of your projects that people might recognize that you've done some design work.
Savory, Scratch, Rain, Taste, Twigs, done about 220
Wasabi
restaurant designs. Yeah, I actually own Wasabi Asian Bistro, and am a partner in Ginger Asian Bistro up on the South Hill. Fire Restaurant in Coeur d'Alene, which we're really excited about. It just recently opened, and it's just gotten rave reviews for the design and the food as well. So we're opening 2 more of those in Spokane in the next 6 months.
Awesome.
So,
as you can tell, his style and his design is touching this community already, and we're very grateful that you joined us today.
Thank you.
So Katy, my most favorite entrepreneur here recently, who just says it like it is, I love it. So Katy, tell us a bit about Thin Technologies and sort of your role for the company.
Thin Technologies started about 2 years ago here in Spokane. We are headquartered here. And our goal for starting actually in the Northwest was to bring the large company IT solutions down to the small medium businesses of the Inland Northwest. So work that we have done and the experience that we have includes like Chevron, US Senate, Department of Energy, Janus Mutual, those kinds of things. And we wanted to show people of the Inland Northwest that having great technology is not beyond your reach. You don't have to have just a hard drive, an external hard drive that you take home every night to do your backups. There's other options that are cost effective for small businesses They're not just for large businesses. So
Okay.
that's kind of why we started here. We also started here because we wanted to provide jobs in our local areas, and so far we've been able to provide a few.
That's great. Okay, well, we'll get into a little bit of a discussion on growth and challenges and things like that, but I appreciate you being here. And please, don't be shy. Just say it like it is. We just want you to feel at home here at Launchpad. You know that.
Yes.
Right? I never have to tell her that. All right, Mr. Reilly, talk to us about what you do and how long you've been in business.
Sure. So it was about, 3 years ago as of January, living next door to this guy, that I decided to start Unleashed Online Marketing. And it was Chris Reilly and his MacBook, and taking on the world. And now I have 6 full-time employees, and I'm going to claim that we're the largest dedicated online marketing firm in the Inland Northwest. We help companies with things like Google rankings, improving their online traffic, strategies around social media, and really trying to harness the power of the internet to make profitable marketing campaigns and marketing decisions. We have had a great level of success in creating an environment where a small business can have a web presence that's effective beyond just sort of a static website, sort of finding ways to drive traffic to their business through the web. And I feel really privileged to be part of this community. The business exists today because of people like Josh and people like Bill, who have been incredibly supportive, and our cheerleaders and our confidants and everything else. And Spokane is just a phenomenal place, in my opinion, to start and run a business because of the community that exists.
Yeah. So I think the most common question I get from entrepreneurs in general is, where can I find help? Where can I get plugged into the network of resources that you need to really start your business? And there are a number of them. Obviously, funding, legal, marketing, just all those services. So for the panelists, let me throw this out to you. What was the #1 challenge you faced when you were first starting, and how did you overcome it? Katy, you're up.
I think our biggest challenge so far has kind of been just discerning where and how we use our marketing dollars, when and where do we get new employees, do we hire them as employees, do we make them contractors, just discerning the different challenges that are going to come up in just about any business. Just trying to make those decisions that you stay up all night trying to figure out, because you don't want to make the wrong decision and torpedo your own company. So
Right.
I would say discernment is probably has been our biggest challenge, and just making sure that we are doing things the right way.
Were you able to find people to talk with, to get more advice, to really dig into strategy and get some folks that would mentor you?
Somewhat. You've been helpful. I know we've contacted you a few times going, okay, Bill, where do we go next?
And you're still in business.
We are still
Which
in
is awesome.
We have a great team of core people that we've started with as of, January of this year, and kind of just bouncing ideas off of each other. Some of us have had businesses in the past, and just kind of figuring out what has worked for them and what hasn't, and just talking to other business owners. I'm involved in a few different organizations, and just having another business owner to talk to and say, hey, this is what I'm facing, this is what I'm looking at, what has worked for you, what hasn't. I understand you're in a completely different industry than us, but it's still business. So that's been very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to have a network of thinkers who are similar and going through something that you are, and that's absolutely true. Josh, what about you? What were the things in the very beginning that were challenges for you?
I think the biggest challenge was not accepting help, but stepping outside of myself and allowing the people that were there to help me do what they needed to do to get the business going. Letting go of some of the control, and when you go out and ask for advice, kind of weighing what the good advice is, short-term and long-term, and actually utilizing it, going to people like you, going to current mentors, people that you're introduced to, and then listening what they have to say. That was a big challenge for me.
Let's talk about the listening part. Let's focus on that for just a moment. I would say personally that was my toughest area, was letting go some of the control. And it's interesting, you ask someone for advice and you don't like what they say, and then you stop listening.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of that. But how did you overcome that part? Because I know when you're working for someone and you start to get some momentum and you start to get success, it makes it tougher and tougher to let go a little bit and say, well, I already know how to do this. So how did you overcome that?
A little humility in my life is what helped me overcome that. And then obviously getting to the point where I was so busy where I didn't have a choice but to start trusting others and their decisions. You can only work so many hours in a day, and there are people that exist beyond your employees and your friends that can help you with these. And I think once I just decided that, no, I can't make all these decisions on my own and I can't do this on my own, that's when I started really accepting the help and the advice, and then starting to not just listen but hear what they're saying and understand what they mean.
From that point, could you see a difference in the success of your business?
Immediate.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's mark that point down. At the point you start to let go a little bit and you get a good team around you of mentors and maybe employees, you surround yourself with that talent, but you start to believe and you start to trust, and you let those people execute on their talents.
Absolutely.
You can see a marked difference.
It was immediate.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's a great point. Yes, sir.
If I could jump in there, definitely I've had the same experience, and a turning point in my business was definitely once I was asked to speak at this group called a mastermind group, and I had been familiar with the idea of networking groups and leads groups and been to a lot of those for the purpose of building relationships and making contacts. When I spoke to this mastermind group, I saw a group of businesses that were not there to network, but actually there to sort of collaborate with each other and support each other. And I was so taken with the concept and the people there that it really compelled me to join them. And I'm a member of the MBA Synergy Group downtown. I want to put a little plug in for that because it's been a great thing for my business. But there's mastermind groups that can happen within the Launchpad community and in other formats. But the kind of consistent weekly meeting and supporting each other has been really fantastic. The concept is like having a virtual board of directors.
Right.
So you have other people from different walks of life that can say, hey, you need to think about that differently. And I've gained a lot from helping people in that capacity, but mostly gained tremendous perspective I couldn't have had starting out on my own. I would have had to learn a lot of lessons on my own that the community was able to help educate me with their experience.
So let me ask a question of back in the day when I think I've talked to all three of you at one point. I think mostly Katy and Chris, a little bit more about business. Josh, you were off and running. Would you have still listened to me if you knew I was wearing makeup?
Yeah.
During our meeting,
I would have, definitely.
during our meeting, you were wearing makeup.
Because this normally shines real bad, folks. The makeup had to be done. I apologize, Mom.
On purpose.
It's not manly. It's kind of fun, though. So I was just kidding. Not that there's anything wrong with that, Eric. Let's talk about everyone's favorite subject, money. Let's talk about money. It's the number one question I get. It's, I need to get some funding. And I usually get an entrepreneur that will contact me and say, I want to raise some angel funding. And first thing, I look at them and I say, that's great. Do you want to lose control of your company right away? Because that's what's going to happen. And they say, well, I went to my bank and I can't get a bank loan. And I'm doing the friends and family thing, which is traditionally how you get started. But the economy is completely different now. Angel funding hasn't changed that much. They're still looking at certain criteria, or they'll not fund your project. And for the three of you, talk to me a little bit about how you got started. You don't have to give specifics, But talk to me a little bit about, from the funding angle and the money angle, how did you approach that when you first got started? So,
I definitely have to say, if you're thinking about starting a business, or you've just started a business and you realize you need some more money, you're probably not going to have great luck with a bank, and you're probably not going to have any luck with an angel investor or venture capitalist unless you have intellectual property. That's what they're looking for, is a business that they can invest in, that has a defensible technology or patent or some sort of distance to market. It's really a specialized group of businesses that angel investors and venture capitalists invest in. So if you have a service business like we all do, that's off the table. So by and large. The ways that we have been able to grow are through talking to clients and getting contracts, friends and family supporting, and then being sort of creative in terms of our costs. So I really believe that any entrepreneur is mostly more productive if they're out making deals and getting clients that can make referrals versus trying to raise money, because it takes about the same amount of time to try to get someone to give you $10,000
as it does to sell $10,000 in contracts.
Absolutely, yeah.
I've heard a very smart angel investor told me one day he said, you need money, go sell your way to profitability. And just, they want to see that balance sheet that you have receivables, and it's very powerful. Not that your idea might not be powerful, because we're all passionate, that's why we're entrepreneurs. But it's really tough to go to someone with zero receivables. Before we get to the other two, Mark, do we have any specific questions?
Actually, you asked it.
Okay, so it was regarding Monday? Yeah, we have folks that are asking questions. You can see up on the monitor there via our WebShare live channel, so we want to make sure we ask those questions. But Josh or Katy, you want to respond to that?
I think similar to Chris, when I started the business, it was very much like Chris. It was myself and a PC, not a MacBook at that time. But I started it, and I just went out and sold projects. I bought the software. I asked friends to help build a website for 1/10 of what it would have normally cost me. Chris actually built my first website. Just kind of going out and selling myself. And as the contracts came in, I put aside the majority of it for improvements on computer software. AutoCAD software is extremely expensive, and we had to buy 6 seats. And so everything in the beginning went to the business, the furniture, the design of the office, moving from a 12-foot by 12-foot closet in the NAI Black building to the entire 4th floor. So, and that's just been in the last year, and it's been because of marketing myself, selling the business, and surrounding myself with the proper employees. I did take on a partner that's just a god in the design world, and that's helped immensely, obviously. But the capital in the beginning, if you're selling intellectual properties, you just kind of eat bologna sandwiches for a few months. And if you work hard, it'll come to you, and it has. It's been extremely successful this second and third quarter. Yeah.
Katy?
We've kind of run into the problem of, last year at this time it was 2.5 people. I mean, really 1 person billing, we had 1 person training, and then I do everything else. And now this year we've got 7 W-2s and 4 contractors across 2 states. So we kind of ran into the problem of, we bootstrapped, and so we would put all of our travel costs on credit cards and hope and pray that people pay us to pay off the credit card before we have to pay the astronomical interest. And then that's part of my job, is I harass them until they pay me.
Gotcha.
But then after hiring people, and then of course, checks come in when they come in, when people feel like paying you. We were actually fortunate enough to just get a SBA line of credit just for payroll, because we needed to make sure that we were able to pay our people on time, even if we didn't get paid on time. And even though we haven't been in business for 2 years, because that was mainly, so we checked around with a lot of different banks, and we were finally able to get one without being in business for 2 years through the SBA.
So talk about that for just a moment, because that's very interesting. Did you go through the bank and they pulled the SBA in? Is that how that worked?
Correct, yeah. I didn't even know where to start. So I started with some friends that I knew that worked for some different banks, and I kept getting the response, no, you have to be in business for 2 years. Well, we're almost there.
Yeah.
We're almost there.
Yeah.
And it actually was a fairly simple process once I contacted the correct bank. And they said, oh yeah, we can contact the SBA and, you know, we can get you some funding. Not as much funding as you would like, but...
Was it tied to assets or receivables?
It wasn't.
Okay.
We did end up signing personally
Gotcha.
for it.
Right.
But at the same time, you know, it was an amount that we can make up within, you know, a good month of billing.
Sure.
If we needed to.
Right.
So there is some give and take with starting your own small business and getting funding, because, you know, you are tied personally to credit card, you are tied personally to some of the loans.
Yeah.
But we really wanted to make ourselves $1 million company with no loans.
Gotcha.
So being able just to have that simple line of credit just for payroll has really helped us kind of keep things going, and
Sure.
people can pay us whenever they get around to it.
Yeah, interesting. I think when talking to entrepreneurs, I can really tell that the most creative they are, other than their craft, is funding and capital, and using credit cards and lines of credit and family and friends and ex-college roommates and people that kind of owe you beer money from 20 years ago. And I mean, literally, you think of everything in the world. You become, you know, this financial genius. I've talked to some entrepreneurs that are successful that when you ask them about how they survived, some of the stories are amazing. And it's just crazy, but it's just, you know, it's the world you live in. It's just that roller coaster, and, you know, money's just not thrown at you. Mark, do we have some more questions on WebShare Live?
Yeah, somebody wants to know what the panel's thoughts are on taking on partners, and what do they do when there's disagreements?
Taking on partners, and what do you do when there are disagreements? You're smiling because you're married to your partner, right?
I am married to my partner, and we are actually in the process of bringing on a partner right now.
Oh, okay. Okay. You want to talk about it for a second? Yours is a little unique.
Ours is a little unique because I am married to my business partner, so, you know, there's not a whole lot of getting away from that. Although we were just figuring it out, and we have either worked in the same office or worked together probably 4 of the 7 years we've been married.
Okay.
So we've developed a good working relationship, and we can leave most of work at home. And even if we do talk about work at home, it's okay, I'm talking to you as your business partner, not as your wife right now.
Yeah. And you're able to make that separation? And
we are.
That's probably a bad word to use. Sorry.
No, it is a very defined separation between work and home, or, you know, hey, I'm venting to you as your wife right now, not as your business partner.
You know, that's a good point, because I was a previous business. I had 3 other business partners, and I was not friends with any of them before that. And we kind of, you know, eventually went our separate ways after a liquidation event. But most people get into business with people they know already, with friends. And I've often heard that's just a terrible idea.
I have a business partner that is 50% partner, but I think with our partnership it's a bit unique because we have obvious strengths and weaknesses. Armando's much better than I am at the design aspect, and I'm finding I've done really well with the business end of things. So we collaborate on everything, but as far as disagreements, we've yet to have one, and we've done a lot of projects together in the last year. If there is a disagreement, we kind of have an agreement that one of the employees will step up and make that decision and choose. But we really don't disagree. We both have the same common goal, giving our clients the best design that we can. And I think I know when to back down, and he knows when to back down. So it's been great, and I know I couldn't do it without him. So it's definitely a necessity.
That's awesome. Chris?
So I was very close to being in a partnership, and I just want to speak to that a little bit, because there's a lot that happens around this. A partnership is like a marriage, and it is officially a business marriage, and has some legal implications from that standpoint. And it was really close to sort of formalizing a business marriage with my very good friend Ed Reese. And as we started to get towards the particulars, what really sort of came out was we really like working together, and we have a slightly different vision for, you know, how the work should happen and what sort of markets we want to go after. And so we decided to sort of put that on ice for a little while. And now we have an excellent partnership in the sense of we have two different businesses that work together and collaborate. So we trade leads, we trade information, and I can say that now he's one of my very best friends, and he's been a great asset to our business, and we support each other, and that's been a fantastic thing. So in our case, I think not having a formal partnership, but sort of a strategic alliance has been an excellent decision, and I think we both prospered as a result of it.
Yeah, you entered into a relationship we call co-opetition.
Right.
And
exactly.
Sometimes it makes sense. And I would say for people, the advice I usually give to folks, especially right now, is look for strategic partnerships. Doesn't mean you can't partner with your competition. There might be a third of your business or a fourth or something where you overlap. But what about that other 3/4 of stuff that you could go after together and you complement one another? I know for a lot of attorneys, they'll partner up with bankers and you know, different folks that they're servicing the same type of customer, but you're not necessarily competing. And those are some of the best strategic relationships you can make. Anyone from the audience, if you have a question, feel free to go on up to the area there. Fred, I'd love to have you come up if you get a second, maybe ask a few questions about financing. If your seat's really warm and comfy, don't worry about it. Totally get it.
Bill, I was going to make a mention about, in regards to dealing with disputes, everything in writing, whether they're a friend or
absolutely.
they're not.
Right.
That's kind of been one of our biggest things, because we actually have entered into business relationships, and some of our employees are friends, and one of our partners that we're bringing on right now has been a longtime friend. And I would say legal.
Yeah.
Like everything in writing, because that's going to preserve your relationship in the end. If that's a relationship that you want to keep, make sure that everything is in writing and agreed by both. So that way, if there is a dissolution or something like that, or disagreement, at least, you know, there is guidelines of how you need to handle it.
From a partnership standpoint, I'm sure our attorney would agree, although you're going into the relationship with the best of intentions, things happen, especially when there's money involved or hurt feelings or someone didn't listen to someone else, and it's tough. It's like a marriage. You're with that person sometimes more than you are with your spouse. If you're, like most entrepreneurs I know, you're very passionate and you're working a lot of hours. So I couldn't agree more. Definitely look at the legal part. Let's talk about that real quick. So if you're a startup, you don't have a lot of money. The money you do have is either you're paying yourself or you're living off savings or credit cards. And you know, at some point, if you're going to get an operating agreement or some kind of a partnership agreement drawn up, it's going to cost money. There are very few attorneys still in business that do things for free. Pro bono, I think, went out with the 90s. But let's talk about that. Were the three of you able to get some legal advice and maybe some agreements, an operating agreement or LLC agreements, things like that in place? And how did you go about doing that?
I would say as far as corporate structure, whether you're going to go LLC or corporation or whatever, I would probably just call and ask somebody and then do it yourself, because you're going to pay a whole lot less if you go through all of the state paperwork and all of that stuff yourself.
Our attorney just fell off his chair.
No.
Yeah.
What are you doing? No.
However, that was actually some advice that I got from our attorney that was very good advice, saying, hey, you can save some money by doing this. And for us, we ended up having to shop around for a good attorney. We got some bad advice from an attorney that charged us way too much. And now we have found a very good attorney that does not charge us $100 for an email.
And let's be clear, not all attorneys are like that. I've had some very good luck.
But I would just say shop around, find out what their policies are, ask questions prior to asking them to do, you know, hey, go ahead and do this.
Right.
That was one mistake that I think that we made, was we didn't really shop around. We just got a recommendation from somebody and we went with it. And it wasn't exactly the best recommendation.
Gotcha. How about you two?
We went online and went to rocketlawyer.com, downloaded all the paperwork that we needed, filled it out, then sent it to an attorney, and let them spend 2 hours, you know, going through kind of fixing some of the verbiage. And it was well worth it to do it that way, I think, because we were forced to learn a little bit. But then when it was turned in for the master business license, we were able to have someone that actually knew what they were doing review it. And an attorney is very important, right up there with an accountant. So just as important.
Okay.
Yeah, we definitely did the online thing as well. I was kind of very hands-on getting started, so I'm going to figure all this out on my own. And, there's some, like, we didn't have an operating room for a long time. So I highly advise setting aside some money to speak with an attorney. Being a single member LLC is not a complex entity. But still, once I did bring an attorney into the picture, there's a lot of things that I was missing, such as an operating agreement, which is really required to have a valid entity. So, if you can't afford it, do the best you can on your own. But I would highly suggest just factoring that in as a cost of doing business, and don't make the leap until you have the resources to do so.
I love listening to entrepreneurs because of their passion and their ideas, but it sounds like they need to get some legal help, they need to get some financial help, they need to get some marketing help. Now we're talking about, okay, now where do I start? I've been able to build a network, but what about people who have not? What about people who have been behind a computer as an engineer and all of a sudden they have a brilliant idea? So what do you guys think? Where can people plug in to meet a financial advisor, a marketing person? And this is not a plug for Launchpad in the least. I'm just saying, in general, where do you find that help?
I think we made the most mistakes in all of those areas when we first started, because we knew a few people that had started businesses, and then we went to them and said, hey, who did you use? And they told us who they used. Well, it ended up being a colossal disaster for us. Or, hey, we used this guy that we used to play hockey with as our accountant. He was great for personal, probably not the best for our corporate taxes. That kind of thing. We've made a lot of mistakes. But in the last, I would say in the last year, we've really ran into high quality people and have gotten opinions from a lot of different people and have kind of vetted them out and said, okay, who do you use and why do you use them? And what have you heard about this company? And
so are you saying it's more the word of mouth, ask people's opinions, get the referrals? Especially
in Spokane, because we operate a little differently than the rest of the country. I would say definitely ask anybody you know, ask any other business owner. If you're considering going with a specific accountant or marketing firm or whatever, ask them, hey, what have you heard about these people? Good, bad, indifferent, and kind of do an interview process almost by the way what people have heard. What's the reputation in the community? What have they done? That kind of thing. And I think we've really made the right choices now. But when we first started, we made all the wrong choices.
Well, I just want to thank our panelists for being here today. We're going to go ahead and wrap up. You're probably seeing a theme here of focusing on entrepreneurs. I believe growing jobs and growing businesses is what's going to change our economy. And it's really creating a nurturing environment for our entrepreneurs and our small businesses is critical. And that's why we at Launchpad are going to focus on that. Really, job creation starts with you, the entrepreneurs and the small business owners. So thank you all for being here. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, sir.